I pried the leash from the curb-stuck collar with the righteous fury of a hero, but that dog didn't want saving. And now she's gone, and so is my conscience. I never thought rescuing a dog could feel like stepping into quicksand, but here I am, my feet sucking down with every lie I've told. I spotted her from the edge of the playground, just beyond the swings. A Midwestern mutt, maybe part shepherd, maybe part unhappiness. Her coat was dull, her posture slack, ribs just barely hidden beneath her flanks. I convinced myself she was abandoned, an orphan of a home that forgot her. Maybe she'd been dragged out for exercise and left tethered to a tree. I wrapped my fingers around her leash like a lifeline, certain I was her savior. But saviors don't steal. They don't swindle. I justified my actions with thoughts spun of gold. You're saving her. You're giving her care. You're doing good. None of it fully convinced me, but it felt enough in that moment. I carried her off the curb like a hostage, and I won't lie, it felt good. My heart pumped loudly, excitement rubbing against guilt, like sandpaper inside my chest. She looked at me with haunted eyes, and I swear she knew something was off. She didn't nuzzle me, didn't tremble in fear. She simply stared, a patient apology. Back at my apartment, I cleaned her paws with a damp towel and offered leftover chicken. She sniffed it, ate a forkful, then stared at me again, this time with what felt like evaluation. She knew what I'd done. She knew she wasn't rescued. I called her Luna because she reminded me of that longing, far-off hug of moonlight. I posted on neighborhood lost and found pages, my post practically dripping with hope. No bites. Maybe the owner didn't care, or maybe they were as oblivious as I'd once believed. I justified staying silent. I mean, what if the owner didn't love her, didn't walk her every day, didn't tuck her in at night? Maybe I gave her a better life, I told myself. Luna got proper meals, no scavenged scraps. She got belly rubs and a warm couch by the window. She didn't have to survive on the park's leftover pizza crusts. I even bought her a brand new stuffed toy that squeaked, and she mouthed it like a baby. Her tail flicked once, then settled. That was the only sign that maybe, just maybe, she preferred my company. Still, somewhere in my chest, a hollow cave was growing. It whispered every night when I tried to sleep, "It's not yours. You stole her. You broke someone's heart." I shoved pillows over my ears and buried myself in deadlines, work, books, dishes, anything to drown out the echo. Then yesterday, her rightful owner appeared. A woman in faded jeans, perched on a flat tire of her car, eyes raw as rain clouds. She carried a plastic leash and her voice cracked when she called, "Luna?" Her Luna bolted into my arms, her tail wagging like windmill blades. The woman plunged toward us and I stepped back, numb. She thanked me with tears, hugging the dog like it was a sibling returned from war. I wanted to swallow my tongue. My cheeks flame-burned. I forced out, I found her. I thought she was all alone. Where? When? The words were quicksilver, desperate. In that moment, guilt smacked me in the gut like a battering ram. The woman hugged Luna harder, and the dog wiggled free to rub against her leg. She sniffed her owner, then glanced back at me, once. Then her tail thumped once, twice, settled. "You took my dog," the woman whispered, anger, relief, sorrow in the same breath. She wrapped an arm around Luna's midsection. Against my better judgment, I nodded. That's when the floodgate broke. She told me Luna had slipped her collar at the park fountain, that she'd been chasing a squirrel, had gotten tangled, had panicked. She looked everywhere, flyers, shelters, calls, but hadn't found her until just now. Her voice was thick. I was at my wit's end. I could see Luna leaning into her owner, being gently petted. That's when I finally felt the weight of the stolen hours press into my lungs. I hadn't saved anything. I'd stolen a scared dog and stolen time from a frantic owner. My hand shook. I looked at Luna's wide eyes. They didn't show gratitude, just confusion. My confession cracked and crumbled seconds after it left my mouth. I didn't remember the words, just the gasp. I had a chance to lie, to claim I'd never seen the posts, that Luna came to me, that the park was too big. But there was nothing left to build a lie on. I said the truth as hazy as it was. She didn't punch me. She didn't scream. She just squeezed Luna tighter and stared at the ground. "I just want her back," she said softly. Luna yipped and licked at her face, a tiny gesture of reunion. Now I'm here, standing at my apartment balcony overlooking the courtyard. My phone buzzes with a missed call from a number I don't have saved, Luna's owner. I don't dare dial back yet. My apartment is full of Luna's toys, my clothes dusted with her hair, bowls I thought I'd clean weeks ago. I don't know how to confess this fully. My guilt is a living thing. It claws at me each time I look at her empty dog bed. I can't sleep. I can't eat. The apartment smells of half-forgotten betrayal. I know I did wrong. I know I have to face the consequences. But I'm terrified. Afraid she'll hate me, think I'm a criminal. Afraid that, despite everything, maybe I loved her. That thought crushes me more than any guilt. The idea that my heart was so full of compassion, it overflowed into deception. But love doesn't justify theft. Love doesn't excuse erasing someone's pain. And it certainly doesn't absolve me. I'm stuck. The owner wants Luna back, but hasn't said whether she wants anything from me, money, apology, or maybe she just wants peace. My fingers hover over the keypad. Should I call? Or should I delete her number? Pretend I never did this? Never had her? No. That's worse. I open a blank text. Start typing. Delete. Start again. The cursor blinks like a heartbeat. I can write some apology, right? I can promise to return her favorite toy. I can offer compensation for vet checks. But none of it will fix the nights I lied to myself, told myself I was saving her life. Tonight, I know what I must do. I must tell her everything. Tear down the fortress of justification I built. Face the woman who loves Luna more than I ever could. And hope for forgiveness, even if it's a hope thinner than a dog hair. I didn't sleep the night I sent the message. I watched my phone like it was hooked to my chest with invisible threads, every notification a surge of static. The text was short, maybe too short. I need to explain what happened. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Can we talk? No emojis. No excuses. Just the raw, miserable truth that I had no clue how to handle what I'd done. The reply came at 3:12 a.m. Just one word. Okay. Okay. I reread it 17 times, trying to read tone into a single word. Did she say it with venom? Curiosity? Exhaustion? Maybe all of it. Maybe she didn't even care anymore and was just trying to give me a chance to crumble in person. We agreed to meet at the same park. Poetic, maybe. Or ironic. Maybe I wanted the punishment of standing where I'd first stolen what wasn't mine. She was already there when I arrived. Luna sat next to her, freshly groomed, a pink bandana around her neck that made my heart clench. She looked at peace. There was a calmness in her posture I hadn't seen before, like she'd exhaled something I never noticed she was holding in. Her owner, Sophie, I learned, didn't speak right away. She just watched me, guarded. Not angry. Not forgiving. Just present. I sat on the opposite bench, my palms sweating, jacket zipped to my chin even though the sun was warm. I opened my mouth, and every practiced line dissolved into dust. I was wrong, I finally said. I know that's not enough. I know. She nodded slowly. Luna sniffed the air, tilted her head, and laid down with a groan. It felt like judgment. Sophie's voice was low and even. I thought I was losing my mind. Every night I imagined her stuck somewhere, scared, cold. I checked the shelter twice a day. I flinched. I checked the site. I didn't see anything. You didn't look, she interrupted, not cruel, just honest. Or maybe you didn't want to. I swallowed. I think I convinced myself she needed rescuing. I saw a sad-looking dog tied up, no one around, and I don't know. I filled in the blanks. Her laugh was bitter. So you wrote a whole tragedy in your head, and I was the villain. That stung. Because it was true. I reached into my backpack and handed her the stuffed squeaky elephant Luna had loved. The toy was worn at the edges now. Her eyes widened a little when she saw it. She liked it, I murmured. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Sophie. Silence again. Luna rolled over onto her back, belly exposed to the sky, as if this mess wasn't about her at all. I should call the cops, Sophie said softly. I went cold. Yeah, I wouldn't blame you. She didn't move. But I won't. Because you're not a monster. You just lost your mind a little. That sentence nearly broke me. My voice came out cracked. I live alone. I've been through. I guess I've been feeling invisible. Luna felt like something good. Something I could care for. Like a life raft. Sophie blinked. You thought you were saving her, but maybe she was saving you? I nodded. She sighed, long and slow. You can't take animals like that. You know that, right? I do. Now I do. Then tell me why you're really here. I blinked. I told you. To apologize. To explain. No, she said. I mean, really? What do you want? I hesitated. The truth was ugly. Closure. Maybe forgiveness. Or just not to feel like the villain in my own story anymore. Sophie studied me. You're not the villain. But you're not the hero, either. You're the person who made a bad call and now has to carry it. I nodded. I stinging. I will. She looked at the toy in her lap. You know what scared me most? Not that she was lost, but that someone else might love her enough that she wouldn't want to come back. That hit like a freight train. She did, I whispered. She was happy with me, but not whole. I think she was waiting the whole time. Sophie didn't reply. She stood slowly, leash in hand, Luna springing up beside her. She paused before turning. You don't get to see her again, she said. But thank you for not hurting her. And for telling the truth, eventually. Yeah, I said hoarsely. Eventually. Then they walked away. And I sat there, on that cold park bench, next to a tree that held a memory like a grave marker. I wasn't the villain. But I wasn't the victim either. I was just a lonely person who loved too fiercely, too selfishly. And now the echo of that love lingers in an empty apartment with a dog bed that will never be filled again. It's embarrassing, what loneliness can make you do. You'd think after the bench scene, the stuffed elephant returned like a funeral offering, the tearless goodbye, I'd find closure. Clean break. Lesson learned. But closure doesn't always arrive like a neat signature at the end of an apology letter. Sometimes it shows up weeks later, disguised as obsession. Sophie blocked my number 2 days after we met in the park. I didn't even try to contact her again. Not really. Just one message, something like, "Hope you're both doing okay. Thanks again for hearing me out." Polite. Final. Or so I told myself. The silence that followed was suffocating. Like being ghosted by someone you never even dated. Only worse, because they had your heart wrapped in dog fur. I started walking the same park trail every evening, convincing myself that it was just my route now. That I liked the trees, the cracked path, the rusty bench. That I wasn't, in fact, timing my walks to hers. The first time I saw them again, it was accidental. I swear. Luna spotted me first. Her ears perked, then twitched. She didn't run to me, no dramatic reunion, but she paused. That dog remembered me. And I think Sophie did too, because her entire body tensed. She gripped the leash just slightly tighter. I kept walking. Didn't wave. Didn't say anything. Just passed them with the chill dignity of a ghost who'd learned its lesson. But it didn't stop me from looking over my shoulder. I began seeing them more often. At the same park. Around the same time. Always from a distance. Always silent. I convinced myself it was fate, not desperation. That maybe if she saw I wasn't a threat, we could be civil. God, even now, writing this, I know how that sounds. I told myself I wasn't stalking. I wasn't following her. I was checking in. As if emotional trespassing is somehow softer than the physical kind. The worst part? I wasn't angry. I was jealous. Not of Sophie, though. Yes, a little of her ability to move on. But of Luna. I missed her like a limb. I missed the jingle of her collar in the hallway. The warm press of her body against my legs when I read on the couch. The way she sighed, long and human, before falling asleep. Eventually, I stopped walking past them. I couldn't keep collecting these fragments of guilt. But I found myself on Luna's old Instagram page, yes, the one Sophie had mentioned during our first conversation. The one I should have looked at when I took her. It was filled with photos. Luna as a pup. Luna in Christmas sweaters. Luna destroying birthday balloons. Luna with a squeaky elephant that looked suspiciously like the one I'd bought her. Every photo was proof of a life I'd interrupted. Proof she'd never needed me. Sophie didn't post anything new for a while. Then, about 3 weeks after our last in-person encounter, she posted a story. Luna in a sunlit room. Curled in a giant bed, tongue sticking out, tail lazily wagging. The caption read, "Finally home. For good this time." It shattered me. That night I drank half a bottle of wine and wrote a letter I never sent. It was part apology, part confession, part pathetic ode to a dog I had no right to miss. "You're lucky," I wrote. "You get to love her without shame. I just get to remember." I started therapy the following week. Not because of Luna, exactly, but because she became the mirror I couldn't look away from. Everything I didn't want to admit about myself, my emptiness, my need to matter, my selfish brand of love, was reflected in those weeks with her. My therapist asked if I ever truly believed I was doing the right thing when I took her. I said yes. At the time, yes. But now? Now I know better. I've donated the toys, washed the blanket, gave the dog bed to a neighbor's shelter rescue who deserved it. But I kept the elephant. The squeaky toy, chewed at the ear, is tucked away in a drawer I never open. Not because I think I'll see her again, but because some ghosts aren't meant to be exorcised. They're meant to be honored. Sometimes I still hear her nails on the floor at night. Phantom sounds. Emotional tinnitus. A reminder that doing the wrong thing for the right reasons is still just wrong. And the truth is, I miss Luna every day. But what I miss more is the version of myself who thought love was enough. It wasn't. People think grief is reserved for death. But I learned it has 1,000 other disguises. Mine came with paw prints and a silence so sharp it rang in my ears. After Sophie walked away in that park, Luna's tail swishing with indifference behind her, I stayed sitting on that bench long enough to watch dusk spill over the sky like bruises. I didn't cry. I don't cry easily. Not since I was 13 and my dad told me. Tears don't fix anything. He was right. But they do help you breathe through the wreckage. I wish I'd cried then. Maybe it would have kept the guilt from festering like it did. Instead, I went home and scrubbed my apartment of her. Bowls, toys, leash, even the little patch of couch where she always curled up. But it wasn't cleansing. It felt like erasing evidence. Like I was trying to pretend she'd never existed in my life. And that made me sick. 3 days later, I woke up at 4 a.m. to check if she was at the door. Phantom habits. That's what they call it. I kept seeing her everywhere. Out of the corner of my eye, in the way shadows bent near the hallway, in the soft sound of paws that weren't really there. I even bought groceries with her in mind, reaching for the rotisserie chicken like I used to. Old reflexes die hard. That first week, I deleted and re-downloaded Sophie's Instagram 6 times. I told myself I was just making sure Luna was okay. But really, I was looking for signs that I still mattered in her story. I wanted to see if Luna looked sad, if she missed me. She didn't. Every photo showed her brighter, softer. Her eyes didn't carry the weight I thought I'd relieved. They carried joy, the kind I could only fake. The worst part? I started narrating my life as if I were still talking to her, like she was padding behind me, ears perked, head cocked, listening. You wouldn't believe how cold it is today. The neighbor burned something again. Bet you'd be hiding under the bed. I got you a new elephant, even though you'd already disemboweled the last two. I said it out loud. All of it. In the kitchen, in the living room, once, even in the shower. I imagined she was lying outside the curtain, waiting for me to step out and shake my head at her loyalty. She never came. Eventually, the shame settled in. Not just for what I'd done, but for how deeply I missed her. How easily I let myself believe I deserved her. I started avoiding parks. Avoiding dogs. I'd cross the street when I saw someone with a golden retriever or a beagle that wagged too familiarly. It was like getting punched in the stomach over and over, each time with a different leash and collar. One night, I drank too much and walked to the park anyway. It was nearly midnight. Empty. Cold. The kind of night where your breath feels like a confession. I sat on the same bench and waited. For what? I couldn't tell you. Forgiveness? A hallucination? Instead, I found a note, tucked into the slats of the bench, damp at the edges. Folded once. My name written on it. I stared at it for a long time. Heart pounding. It was from Sophie. I figured you'd come back here eventually. Just wanted to say, Luna's doing fine. Better, actually. She doesn't wake up panicking anymore. I think she was confused, not hurt. I was angry at first, but I've thought a lot about it. I think you meant well. But here's what I need you to understand. Love isn't about need. It's about choice. And she never got to choose. I hope you find peace. And something to care for that can choose you back. S. I sat with that letter in my lap until sunrise. Read it 3 times. The paper softened in my hands like it had soaked up everything I couldn't say. That was the last time I went to the park. After that, I threw myself into routine. Wake up, work, eat, sleep, rinse, repeat. But something in me had shifted. I didn't just want to fill the emptiness. I wanted to understand it. That's when I started therapy. It felt cliché at first, like a bandage too neat for the wound. But it helped. I talked about my father, about silence, about how I always confused control for love, and finally, about Luna. My therapist asked if I thought I could ever trust myself with love again. I told her I didn't know, but I wanted to learn. I've stopped checking Sophie's profile. The elephant toy's still in my drawer, but I don't take it out anymore. It's not about holding on. It's a reminder of what I need to let go. I loved a dog who wasn't mine, in a way that wasn't fair. And now, I'm learning how to love in ways that are. It's strange how grief makes you feel invisible, and then, just when you've grown used to it, it drags you into the spotlight again. It had been 2 months since the park, since the letter, since I let Luna go for real. I'd almost started to believe I could move on. Therapy had softened the self-loathing, and I'd stopped narrating my life to a dog-shaped ghost. The air in my apartment felt lighter, the silence less accusing. Until the knock. 3 short raps, like hesitation had been boiled down into rhythm. I wasn't expecting anyone. I thought it might be a delivery, until I looked through the peephole and saw her. Sophie. And not just Sophie. Luna stood beside her. I froze. She didn't look angry. She looked tired. Cautious. Like someone standing at the edge of a conversation she wasn't sure she wanted to have. I opened the door slowly, heart pounding like a guilty drum. Hi, she said, almost sheepish. My throat closed. Is everything okay? She nodded, looking down at Luna, who was sniffing my doormat with vague interest. She tugged me here, Sophie said, shrugging. We were on our walk. We were a block away, and she just stopped. Wouldn't move until we turned down this street. I swallowed hard. She remembered. Maybe, she said. Or maybe she just remembered the smell of chicken. We both laughed, a sound more brittle than joyful. Luna looked up at me with neutral curiosity. No tail wag. No guilt or warmth or recognition. Just a dog being a dog. And it hit me like a slap. Whatever bond we had, it belonged to a different time now. One she didn't miss. Sophie shifted awkwardly. Look, I know this is probably weird. I didn't come to reopen anything. I just figured, if you wanted to see her. One last time. On neutral ground. I stared at her. Why would you do that? Because, she said, I've thought a lot about what you said. About needing to feel like you matter. And because I saw you sitting in the park for weeks, even when you didn't know I saw you. I blinked. You saw that? I saw everything, she said. And I realized, maybe I'm not the only one who lost something. We stood in the doorway like that, both unsure what this was. Closure? Mercy? Something resembling forgiveness? She handed me the leash. My hands trembled. Luna trotted in, polite as a guest, sniffing the couch like she was remembering a faded dream. She made a slow circle and sat. Sophie stayed near the door, watching, but not intruding. I crouched beside Luna. "Hey girl," I whispered. My fingers hovered before gently brushing behind her ears. She let me. She didn't resist, didn't lean in. It wasn't rejection. It wasn't affection. It was just peace. "I missed you," I said. And even if she didn't understand the words, I think she felt them. Sophie spoke from the doorway. "You know, when I first got her back, she kept going to the kitchen at night. Like she was expecting something." I nodded. "That was our routine. Midnight snacks." "She stopped after a week," Sophie said gently. "But I think she was mourning, in her way." That sentence broke something in me I didn't know I was still guarding. Mourning. It validated everything I'd tried to deny. That what we had, brief as it was, had mattered. Even if it was built on a lie. After a few minutes, Sophie said softly, "Ready?" I stood. "Yeah." I handed back the leash. Luna followed, obedient and indifferent. As they stepped out the door, Sophie turned once more. "You're not a bad person," she said. "You just loved wrong. But people can learn to love better." She didn't smile. She didn't need to. And just like that, they were gone. I didn't cry. Not then. But later, hours after the apartment had gone still again, I found the couch cushion she'd sat on. Still warm. And I curled up in her space like a fool, like someone clinging to the last breath of a dream. The visit didn't fix anything, but it made something possible. I don't know if Sophie forgave me. I don't know if Luna remembered me. But I do know this. I mattered. Even if just for a moment. Even if just to a dog who doesn't wag her tail at ghosts. You don't replace a dog. That's what I kept telling myself. When I walked into the shelter 4 weeks after Sophie and Luna left my doorstep for the final time, I wasn't looking to fill a hole. I just wanted to remember what hope felt like. Something warm, something alive. I'd been circling the idea in therapy for a while, loving again, without guilt. The shelter was loud, chaotic, barking layered over barking until it all blended into a numbing hum. And still, in the very last kennel, sitting like a sphinx with 2 big ears and a tilted head, was Bailey. Bailey looked at me like I was already late. She wasn't Luna. She didn't have that quiet solemnity, that ghost in a dog's body energy. Bailey was all nerves and spark, half border collie, half mystery. She didn't make me ache. She made me laugh. First time I took her for a walk, she managed to wrap the leash around both our legs and drag me down like a scene out of a cartoon. And for the first time in months, I let myself laugh until my ribs hurt. She needed training, structure, patience. And I finally had enough of those to give. Loving Bailey wasn't a redemption arc. It was something else. A reminder that love could be messy and imperfect and still entirely right. No stolen moments. No guilt-soaked toys. Just a dog who wanted to chase pigeons and sleep at my feet. I didn't check Sophie's social media anymore. That part of my life felt sealed, like an old photo album you keep in a box but never open. Not because you're ashamed, but because you've accepted the chapter is over. Then, one rainy Wednesday evening, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Sophie. This might be strange, but I thought you'd want to know Luna's sick. It's not urgent. But I figured, after everything, you deserved to hear it from me." The world dropped out for a moment. Sick. That word tunneled through my chest like a cold wind. I didn't reply right away. I stared at Bailey curled on the couch, chewing her stuffed fox with a manic focus, blissfully unaware that her human's past was scraping at the door again. Eventually, I wrote back. "I'm sorry to hear that. Is she okay? Is there anything I can do?" Sophie replied almost instantly. "Just thought you'd want to see her. If you'd like. No pressure. We're at the vet on 3rd tomorrow morning. She has a checkup." I stared at that message like it was a trap. Like walking into that room would rewind everything. But some part of me, some part I'd buried under months of growth, still needed to say goodbye. So I went. The waiting room smelled like antiseptic and nerves. Sophie looked the same. Tired, in that parental way. Strong, in that unflinching way. And Luna, older now, moving slower, lay at her feet. She looked up when I entered. Her tail wagged. Just once. And in that split second, I forgave myself all over again. Sophie smiled softly. She remembers. I knelt beside her. "Hi, girl." My voice cracked. "Still judging my fashion choices, huh?" She nuzzled my knee, slow and deliberate. "She has arthritis," Sophie said gently. "Not the end of the world. But she's on meds now. She's aging." I nodded. "Aren't we all?" There was a long pause. Then Sophie said, "I'm glad you came." I swallowed. "Me too." We didn't talk about the past. We didn't need to. Everything we needed to say had already been written, in actions, in silence, in a leash handed back with shaking hands. Eventually, Luna stood, hobbled closer, and rested her head against my leg. And I let her. I stroked behind her ears like I used to. Like we both remembered, and both had healed just enough. After a while, Sophie said, "You can visit. If you want. Sometimes." I nodded. Thank you. When I left the clinic, I cried in the car. Not from guilt, not from grief, but from grace. Bailey barked when I walked in the door that evening, ran to me like I was the best thing that had ever happened. And maybe, for her, I was. And she, for me, was the second chance I didn't know I deserved. Luna wasn't mine, but for a moment she had been. And Bailey is mine now. Fully. Freely. No lies. No shadows. Just love.